So what's up, YouTube? Back with another segment of our bull snake and gopher snake panel with Lou Boyer and Glen Brooks and Jason Nelson. Today we're going to be talking all about herping in the field, finding these animals. It's what I grew to love about gopher snakes, is just being able to see them, right? It's one of the first snakes I ever saw when I was a kid. And Lou talks all about finding them. He's got a dope channel if you haven't checked him out already. Follow Lou Boyer. He's got some of the funnest herping videos on the internet. And I'm not just saying that because he's on the panel. He really is really fun. So I'll put a link in the description to his page. You should definitely follow that as well. If you want to see the full panel, click here. You're going to see the full panel. It's about an hour and 15, hour and 25 minutes, something like that. So if you want to see all the questions, everything in a row, they're right there for you. But without further ado, I'm going to let the guys jump right in and start talking about finding these guys in the wild and what that means, and if we could keep them as pets and how all that works. Check it out. I love them. So we'll talk about that a little bit. We'll talk about let's finding them in the field. So we'll start with you, Lou, since that's what your YouTube channel is all about. Where are they found? What's their habitat like? And for this, we'll probably mostly speak on gopher snakes, which I think is primarily in your range, but I know you've done some in Illinois too, so tell us about that.
Yeah, living in Southern California, it's Southern Pacific rattlesnakes, king snakes, and gopher snakes are probably the three most common snakes. It sort of varies year to year. This year, it's been almost all gopher snakes, like probably 75% gophers to kings. Last year, it was the opposite. It was all kings and no gophers. And I don't know why that is, but yeah, here, springtime is the best time to go out. If you know where you're looking, springtime's the time to go. For the average person who doesn't know a lot about looking for snakes, they're, summers when they're out moving, on the roads and stuff like that, as far as crossing a dirt path or something. But if you know when to look, spring in Southern California after the rains, which we don't get a lot of rain here, but we get a little rain. They're underneath things, whether it be rocks or trash or pieces of plywood that people, lay out for them. That is the time. And it happens again in the fall a little, but spring, end of February to late April. We don't have like a real changing of the season in Southern California, but, it's mild, but it happens. And yeah, it's when you pick up a board or look under a rock and there's a nice big gopher snake under there, it's like, I took my wife and I take my family with me on some of my videos, and my daughter said it was like hunting for like Easter eggs and stuff, because you're lifting up something, but you don't know what you're going to find. And like on my videos, I share a lot of what I don't find, but I don't share all of it because that would be boring. But there's a lot of lifting for not a lot of finding sometimes. So when you do find one, it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of magical, as weird as that sounds. And a nice big gopher snake, something about them, they're just kind of cool, relatively plain color wise, but they just have a bit of an attitude with the hissing, and they usually don't bite, but they calm down when you pick them up, and they're just, they're one of the largest snakes in Southern California. Maybe they are the largest snake in Southern California, and I don't know, there's just something cool. They just kind of look intelligent, sort of. When you look at them, they just sort of look like they know what's going on, and it looks like they're kind of eyeballing you and sizing you up just like you're sizing them up. So I don't know. Springtime's the best time to find them. Again, some years are better than others. Most of the snake herping around here is dependent on rain. So if you have a good winter, it's usually a good spring. But there's a lot of winters we don't have much rain, and then the springs aren't so great.
And where do you typically look in grassy areas, in wooded areas, all of the above?
Mostly grassy areas. Almost all the snakes I find here are underneath some kind of cover out in the grassy areas. I hardly find anything underneath cover of canopy of trees, and most snakes I don't find anything like that. I think they need to thermoregulate, and they need to have that change to get in and out. So sometimes at the edge of the forest, but when it's just canopy everywhere, when I was a kid, I thought, oh, that's where the snakes are. They're in all these trees, and that's where it's at. But that's not really where it's at. So it's sort of contrary to what you might think. But yeah, grassy fields are great if you have cover to look under. If you don't have cover to look under, I'm not sure you'd find one out there. It'd just be too hard to spot it.
Very cool. Jason, would you like to add to that? What have you found? Where have you been finding gopher snakes and bull snakes?
Most of my experience in the field with pits is Utah. I'm obviously live here. They're very abundant, probably, if not the most common, the second most common. I've in one night of road cruising, I've seen up towards 40 a night. That's unusual.
Wow.
That was counting road kills too, fresh road kills, but that's usually springtime when they're on the move looking to breed, and yeah, that scenario. But the Great Basin gopher is super highly variable. You can find lots of color ranges, even in the same areas. Southern Utah's got orange ones. We got yellow ones. We got grays, blacks. Out in the salt flats, 1 out of 10 in this area will look aneuphoristic. They're black and white, and I think that's attributed to the soil, white, salty sand. Yeah, they're just super variable, and that's what's so interesting to me about the Great Basin gopher snakes. I have found bull snakes in Kansas several times, Missouri, been to Southern Cal, found a few, San Diego's, and even Pacific's up north a little bit. Sonorans, I've been to Arizona a ton, Herping, so I know Arizona really well too.
Right on. If you're going out to find gopher snakes in the morning, where would you look for them, or morning or day? And then if you're going out at night, where would you look? Would it vary on the season, or what would you say for that?
In the morning, in the spring, they're pretty active, but it's more evenings, and in the summer they'll become nocturnal. So road cruising is a really good way to find them. There is conditions that will bring them out more so if we get some thunderstorms, just some moisture in the air. Southern winds, for whatever reason, in Utah, gets them active. I think that's because they can smell more. There's more smells in the air, and I think that's with all snakes. I found in Utah, the winds will bring them out a little bit.
I want to share real quick. This is one of the ones I found just real quick, and I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it, but this was a beautiful one I found in Kankakee County that, I don't know if you guys can see the screen, but I mean, how could you not like this snake? I mean, it's just, again, I don't know how well that's showing. Yeah, that thing was just incredible looking. It was just, I'd love to find another one.
Yeah, that one's definitely awesome. We talked a little bit about it too, that one of the easiest ways to find them is flipping things over. I know there's a lot of boards, debris, whether it's sheet metal or wood or blocks of concrete or big rocks. I want to talk a little bit about responsible field herping and stuff like that too, because I think all of us have a little bit of connection and desire for conservation as well of these animals. How important is it to return the environment exactly as you found it and leave it? I don't know, Jason, if you want to kick that off. Talk sort of about the responsible way of going about and doing this, not just going out and find as many snakes as you can and shaking things up, but what are some of our responsibilities when we go out there?
Yeah, I mean, if you're flipping rocks, we don't have board lines too much like California. That doesn't work. It works a little bit here, but not as much. I like looking for milk snakes, and so I usually don't flip a lot of stuff in Utah. But in the springtime I will when I'm looking for milk snakes and stuff. But very important to put those rocks back how they go. I mean, you break the water seal, and then if I've seen a lot of habitat destruction, and it's very disheartening. So I think it's super important.
I agree with you. Lou, is there any other thoughts you had on that? Yeah,
being in Southern California, it's kind of a touchy thing because there's board lines out here. People set up board lines, and and I go to other people's board lines. Now, they're not on anybody's property; they're on public land. But I try and respect the fact that somebody else set those up. So if I take video, I'll either cut in video from somewhere else to throw people off, or I just won't show the horizon. Or if I show the horizon, it'll be from something else that's not even related to where you don't know that when you watch it. But anyway, for those people that are like, oh, where's this spot? And I just try and respect the spot. I have a small little board line by my house, but I'm not saying it's littering, but like I don't like to just go get a bunch of boards and go throw them out in the field. I sort of feel, I feel a little strange about it. So what I typically try and do is find stuff that's already laying around in a field, and there's plenty of people that throw junk around. So I sort of repurpose the junk and move it over a hole or a crack in the ground, or I sort of move the stuff that's already there to suit my benefit, I guess. And, that way I'm not actually littering. I'm just sort of, taking advantage of the litter that's there. But yeah, board lines, it's with the, internet and Google Earth and all that, it's easy to find board lines if you know what you're looking for. And people get upset, like really upset. So I try not to rub anybody the wrong way. I try and respect the animals. I just want to show people how beautiful they are and let them go on their way. Obviously leaving the place as I found it, whether it be rocks or boards or anything for that matter. And if I find trash out there that was, not mine, I just take it with me and throw it away. It just seems simple, but I live down by the beach, and it's amazing how many people just leave trash behind. I don't get it. It seems so simple not to, but I don't know, lazy, I guess.
No, exactly. It's lazy. Littering is definitely a pet peeve of mine. That it drives me insane. And I feel similar. I'll go outside and I'll see, on certain trails, and there's boards lined up and hidden over, and it's just, it's interesting. And it's cool that they're looking for snakes, but at the same time, it does feel a little bit like they're spoiling nature, right? Like the snake didn't build the plywood sheet to
no. And sometimes, I'm sorry if I interrupted there, but sometimes like it's easy to find them that way, and it's still fun to find them that way. But finding one on the crawl at night, going across a road or out in the field, just in the grass is 100 times cooler feeling when you find one like that than flipping one. Now, don't get me wrong, I flip snakes all the time, but otherwise I would hardly see any, and I wouldn't video anything because most of the time I wouldn't find anything. But seeing one out in the open, it's awesome. Yeah.
Nice. And Glenn, let me get you involved on this too. So let me ask you this. So can I just go out and if I want to go for snake as a pet, can I just go out and find one and then take it home? What should I do that?
Well, I think there's some laws in different states that require have certain restrictions. I know in California you can't pick up a snake unless you have a fishing license.
Right.
And only certain species you can take home. So that would be legal in California, but you would be bringing home a snake with potential issues and pulling one more out of the wild to keep from producing others. It seems like buying one, if you want a pet, buying one that is captive propagated is a better choice for the animals. But I think probably all of us have caught and kept snakes from the wild since we were little kids. And that's part of what got us excited about it. And there's something, about the having new genetics into a breeding system from a wild caught animal. And so there are advantages and disadvantages, but for the most part, when you use the word pet, I think captive bred is probably the best way to go about having a good, healthy, adjusted pet snake.
Yeah, thank you. It's a funny topic because for a lot of us, if we keep snakes from Indonesia or Brazil or another country, we say, oh, well, that's a wild caught, it's an import. But we realize the importance of having that bloodline, new bloodlines and breeding groups and breeding programs, stuff like that. But you don't think of it with snakes that are local because someone's still got to catch it. It's not it's not the Fish and Wildlife Service saying, okay, these are the snakes that are allowed to go into breeding programs. It's folks with fishing licenses and sale permits who go out and do it themselves. Jason, what's your thought on wild caught gopher snakes?
I'm like Glenn said that perfectly. I am very pro captive breeding. I think you're getting a better quality of animal. I do like, I'm like Glenn said, we all have took something out of the wild, and I'm older now and I'm wiser, and I rarely will take anything from the wild anymore.
Mhm.
unless it's an exceptional or a freak morph or or it's a special locality, something special about that locality, then that I can start a project or add new blood in, then I'll and that way you can offer something captive bred from these unique area. I am 100% against people that catch snakes in the wild and sell wild snakes. There's a big difference between taking an animal or two, adding it into a collection, and working it into your collection in a captive breeding program. But there's people out there that catch snakes in the wild and sell wild caught snakes. I'm 100% against that. I don't think people should make money off Mother Nature that way.
I think that's well put. Yeah, exactly. Both you and Glenn and Jason, thank you guys. Yeah, we have to remember it's a finite resource, right? So even though there is room for it, if it becomes a cash grab, eventually they will run out. Even though obviously now there's plenty